talks, and also paying respects to all elders past, present and emerging. Again, welcome to the Bush Food Experience. I have split the table into two different sections. We've got some plant samples that I've got from around the resort. Going to go through them a little bit with you, and then we do have a few companies that we work closely with that are starting to put native ingredients into modern packages so that you can cook with them at home as well. But the first two that I'm going to get started with is our grey cassia and chocolate senna. So grey cassia and chocolate senna. So you can tell the difference between the two pretty quickly as I held them side by side, but out in 40-degree heat and not having them right next to each other might not be able to tell the difference as quickly. So grey cassia, this is your bread and biscuit, and I'll start off with this one. So with the grey cassia, you can see it's got one green seed pod on here at the moment. They will go through to a very dark brown stage. In that dark brown stage is when they're ready to be collected up, and you're going to crush it inside a winnowing bowl. A winnowing bowl is a lopsided bowl. So when you crush it up inside, you're then going to flick it and move it in the figure of 8. What's going to happen is all the seed shell and husk is very, very light and flicks out of the bowl. The seeds are a lot denser and heavier. They shift down to the bottom, ready to be grinded up at the end. They are so dense that I've been told if you try and bite it, you're probably going to chip your tooth quicker than you're going to chip that seed. So a lot of elbow grease to grind these ones up. So has everyone been out to Uluru so far? Yep. Quite a few nods. For anyone who hasn't, keep your eye out along the Marla Walk. Along the Marla Walk there is the kitchen cave. Within the kitchen cave there are long divots in the stone that are nice and smooth. That is where they're going to grind these seeds up, not wanting to do it in a circular motion or you're going to have very sore wrists or carpal tunnel by the end of it. So grabbing a stone about the size of your palm and you're just going to scrape it over the top, making it a lot easier to grind up. Once you've got it grinded up, you're going to add a little bit of moisture, a bit of water, and it's going to almost turn into a chunky peanut butter. You're then going to get it and clump it all into a ball. You're then going to get that ball, put it on the end of a fork stick, place it over the flames of the fire, and you're going to keep turning it for about a minute or 2. You're not cooking it just yet. When you cook it, you want to put it in the coals of the fire. Nobody wants ash, dirt, insects in your food. So you create a hard crust around the outside first, protecting the inside. Then you're going to put it in the coals of the fire, wait for it to be finished, and then you're going to pull it out, crack it open, and you're going to have a bread biscuit inside about the texture of an Anzac biscuit. They'll also add in some fruits as well to make it a bit sweeter. I'll let you know which fruit they mainly put in the grey cassia once I get to the fruit. But now it's time for why you don't want to get the two confused, because the chocolate senna is a very, very strong laxative. So for the kids in the audience, it's going to send you to the toilet and it's going to send you there pretty quickly. So you don't want to spend all morning thinking you're making everyone grey cassia biscuits and you've just given everyone laxatives. Nobody's going to be too impressed with you. They will use the laxative in the area. The chocolate senna will also produce a seed pod as well. They're going to collect up that seed pod, grind it up in a different area. You don't want cross-contamination. You are then going to add it into water and you're going to drink it, purging out your system, cleaning out your system. The Anangu have a very high fibre diet, so you do need to purge out your system every now and then. And it's also, if you eat something bad, say a bad bit of meat or something poisonous, you're going to go after your chocolate senna and purge out your system as quickly as possible as well. So you've pretty much got Baker's Delight over here, Chemist Warehouse over here. Don't get the two confused. As you can see, we do have a few little shriveled up yellow flowers on the grey cassia. Chocolate senna will also produce a similar yellow flower. Grey cassia smells a bit earthy. Chocolate senna smells very, very sweet like chocolate. So if it smells sweet like chocolate, it makes chocolate at the other end pretty much. So that's usually, if it smells pretty, it's probably one to stay away from. The more earthy smells, the better for you. But if you're wanting a little bit more of a loaf bread, danta bread, you're actually going to have to go after these thinner grass seeds just here. So this is from the Spinifex grass in the area. As you can see, very thin seeds. So you're going to be able to grind these into almost like a flour texture. As we do not have a rising agent in the area, you need to get the grindings as thin as possible. As the thinner your grindings, the more of a rise that you'll get out of it. But you can understand why the Anangus tend to stick to the grey cassia biscuit than trying to make a whole loaf. You're going to be collecting for a while and doing quite a bit of grinding to get enough flour to make a full bread loaf. So that's why they would tend to stick to the grey cassia a little bit more as well. So the next one we're going to go over to, they're usually found in areas like just here, that's sort of an acacia woodland. So this one is your Acacia kempiana, also known as your witchetty bush. Witchetty bush is where you get your witchetty grubs, found in the root system here in the Central Desert. I don't have any witchetty grubs on hand, but I do have a lovely laminate to show you what they look like. So the witchetty grub actually comes from a cosset moth, a big, large white moth, and it comes and lays its larvae in the base of the tree and in the trunk of the tree. That larvae is then going to burrow itself down, get inside the root system and start eating at the root system, turning into a larger grub. That causes a chain effect on the top of the soil. So cracks in the soil, displaced soil because the root system is moving around. So you're going to look for a tree that has a lot of disruption at the base of the tree. Usually means it has more than one grub inside if there's a lot of disruption. In a very, very good witchetty bush, you can find up to 50 witchetty grubs within the root system, and that's in a very good tree. And this is a very high source of protein, so when your larger animals, your emus, your kangaroos follow the reins and move on, this becomes your main source of protein. So a very, very important food source for the Anangu with a high amount of protein, especially when those larger animals move on. I was lucky enough to go out with traditional owners when I first moved out, and we went to look for the maku and dig some up. They cooked it up on the spot for me. Tastes a little bit like fried eggs, with a bit of a nutty taste in there and a bit of a scrambled egg taste as well. One of my colleagues have had them raw, but reckons quick chew, quick swallow, couldn't tell me too much about the taste. But that's like with a lot of traditional foods, it is not about the taste of the food, it's about the nutritional value you do get from that food. So your Acacia kempiana, also known as your witchetty bush. We're going to go to another acacia again, and it's found in the same area. This one is your Acacia arnora. This one is the mulga tree. Obviously, I don't have the tree, just a few twigs. But if you can see that there's some little orange nodules all over the branch, that you will be able to come down and have a closer look after the talk. But these little orange nodules are made from a tiny little insect called a psyllid. They eat the sap of the tree and produce these lerps, which are crystallized sugars. But when they're seen in a very, very bright, red, glistening stage, it means something else is harvesting them. It means the worker ants of the jala, the honey ants. They're coming along, getting all the little sugars, taking it back down to the storage area. The storage ants are then gorging themselves on sugar. So when we eat too much sugar, we get a stomach ache. When they eat too much sugar, they get a gorging sack. The gorging sack can be about the size of a $2 coin up to about the size of a grape. And the way that you're going to eat it is once you've found them, you're going to grab the ant lightly, because you do not kill the ant by popping the gorging sac, as it's just something to develop from too much sugar. So if you don't squash the ant, you will not kill them. So you've got to grab them lightly right at the base, and you're going to pop it with your teeth, and then it's going to spread through your mouth. For me, it tastes a lot like golden syrup. It was very, very sweet. I even had a sip of a coffee after, made my coffee taste really, really sweet. So next time I get some more, I'm going to mix it in together, because I think it'll taste very, very nice together. Sometimes they'll actually stop the children from eating them though, because the children haven't learnt you need to bite it before it bites you. So sometimes the kids will actually get bitten on the lip and on the tongue, and why they have that bite mark actually causes a lisp. Pretty much a lisp of shame, meaning they can't eat jala just yet. So the women, when they eat them, they do it very, very quickly. It's basically, you just see this. Because what they're doing is grabbing it, popping it, putting it back, because you haven't killed the ant. So they will put it back in the storage area and cover it back over, because it's just a gorging sack. Up in the top end in the tropical areas, we'll do the same with the green ant. We'll pop it and it will taste a lot more citrusy and a lot more smaller than the jala. But if you'd like to try a green ant, go along to Sales in the Desert. This one's 18 plus, and see if they still do the native Negroni, which is a green ant gin. You can see the green ant swirling around in your drink. For those guys under 18, might just have to keep an eye out for the green ant marmalade. We sometimes have around the resort as well. So your mulberry giving us your jala, your honey ants. We're going to stick with a little bit more sugar as well. So this one is slowly starting to lose some of its flower, some of its little petals coming off there. So this is one of our grevilleas in the area. So this is your honey desert grevillea. We do have another grevillea, which is just the desert grevillea. Honey desert grevillea has this in its name, tastes a lot more like honey. The desert grevillea for me tastes a lot more like icing sugar. So traditionally they wouldn't pick them. What you're actually going to do is you're going to pull the flower down, get a bowl of cuppy, bowl of water, and you're going to swish it around, taking all that nectar off, pretty much making yourself a bush cordial, some good sugars to get you through the day. So I did say they won't pick them because you can't go back and do it the next day, but sometimes the children will, because the top green bit just here can crystallise with so much nectar that it goes very, very thick, and they can snap it off and suck on it like a lollipop pretty much. I do ask if you do see any flowering and you would like to try the nectar. First of all, allergy test first, as some people are allergic to grevilleas, and what I like to say is you don't know what you're allergic to until you're allergic to it. So best way to check, especially if it's got a flower, is to rub it on your fingers. If you get any sort of red welts or irritation after about 5 minutes, most likely means you're allergic to it, and I'd probably stay away from it. But if you've done the allergy test and you're not allergic and you'd like to try it, all we ask you to do is pull the flower down, don't pick it, and just bang it onto your hand. This one has been eaten a little bit by the birds, but you can see up in the top corner of my hand here, it's a little bit glistening. That is the nectar that has just come out from me tapping it. Best time to try it is very early in the morning after the birds and the sun have got to it. But even though one of the best times to actually try it is around 12 o'clock, if none of the birds have touched it, the sun will actually start crystallizing all the sugar on there, making it nice and thick as well. The thickest I have seen it is you could grab a butter knife and scrape it off and butter it onto your toast pretty much. So pretty much your sweet sugars to get you through the day with the grevilleas.